Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for what will be a very exciting match of Cosmonarchy, a best of 5 to qualify into the battlement stage. And it's the last chance for the Tribunal section of our tournament, these little isolated single elimination best of 5 jaunts, which result in one player qualifying and doing what they need to do in order to make a little bit of a mark on competitive Cosmonarchy history, guys. It's really important, you know? I mean, look at this map, Magnetron, a port of Tokamak from StarCraft 2, but it's done with the installation tiles that you can actually build on and feeds into an epic Badlands landscape as well in the middle here. So, just saying, there's some pretty cool stuff going on in this game, and it's cool to be a part of it, even if the maps don't look all like this, because, of course, variety is the spice of life. But we have Kenoli in the top right. Speaking of variety, he's shown a pretty stark difference in how he's played, especially in ZVZ. In our last series, he was very decisive game 2 on Macroglia. I thought that was quite a different look from him. So he's developing his game, being a bit more of a well-rounded player in that respect. And he does need those strategic layers, given his lower APM than the average, even for the level below the top 20 players of Cosmonarchy. You would say that some of them do, in fact, average a bit higher. Kenoli doesn't need that, though. This American Zerg player is looking for some trouble against Sosij. And I would say Sosij comes in here as a favorite. You see the seeding here. There's have been a series of surprise results in this tournament. But definitely something to keep in mind is that Sosij did defeat Hanmano 3-1. That's a Korean, pro-level Terran player from StarCraft 2. And, he's struggling a little bit on the style versus the Protoss matchup specifically. Definitely a more capable player versus Zerg and versus Terran, but, and probably versus a Sosij. I don't actually know yet. We have a 4th race here, in case you're not aware. But Sosij was able to find that weak matchup, and he found ways to take care of business. So I do look at him and say he's the favorite coming into this. Kenoli was tested against Godwheat, the better Sosij player, it seemed, than Art of Turtle. And then afterwards, he was tested by Grass Eater, but, you'd probably expect that AOT, especially if AOT was Zerg, should have made it through that side of the bracket without too many issues. This is a little bit painful here. Sosij tickling the Droleths. Definitely something he's got to worry about. Doesn't look like he gets any kills, but denied some mining time. Pretty worth, a small window of opportunity. Now, as long as the Legionnaire doesn't just die here due to an abandonment of micro, it should be an effective cost efficiency. You have to value Protoss health as a limited resource as well. You can't heal that stuff. So, at least not without a teammate, so not without an ally. Maybe we'll put some neutral shamans around the map or something for him. Definitely something that Sosij is going to have to consider. Legionnaires are fairly frail things anyway, but you can eat up a little bit more. Obviously most of his durability is gone, 70 HP down, so did that equalize it out? I think Sosij is just fine to hold back the incoming Zerg, so this is probably just a nothing move from Sosij. It doesn't put him too far behind. Very minor detail in the grand scheme of things, but if he had lost the Legionnaire, I would say, well, I don't know, maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's actually better to lose it then as opposed to anything else. But you can still send it up for a scout later on. Players like Nebulheim have shown us what you do when you have some spare units. You just cover the map, make sure nobody can expand or drop or anything like that for free without you knowing. I was talking about strength of schedule. Sosij defeated Thunderslaps, who also sort of appeared to handicap himself by giving himself the Terran race, which is not something he's as familiar with, we'll say. So that was a little bit of a surprise. And then in the same boat as AOT against Kenoli. It's just odd races to have played. Looks like Kenoli doesn't really want to morph this Kagrand. I wonder what he's waiting for then. Is he going to go for just a bunch of Visera cores? He's got a lot of minerals in the bank. No, it's 2 Ovaleths and 6 pairs of claws. So he's prepping a pretty nasty drop. This probably means he's going to go for a ski back. This is all off of one base. This is a bit tricky in terms of the play. Sosij going in with a 3-gate into Ardent. He's got that embassy coming. Very similar style, in fact, to what he was defaulting to against Hanmano. And in a way, I actually like that approach. See how this, kind of strategy gives you tools, get really accustomed to using those tools. And then, we see this be problematic for ASL players like Snow has had problems with playing versus Zerg. That's a matchup that doesn't allow him to use his specialist Reaver micro. And so, this is something where you have to learn a very fundamentally different skill. But if you can leverage the same sort of style that you were just using versus a Terran player and come out on top with some minor alterations based on unit composition, well, then it puts up this easier level of practice. You can just play your style, how you feel you want to play. So just something to keep in mind. It's actually something I dig a little bit. Still not morphing this K-Grunt, though. That's a little bit odd. Kenoli going for 9 Hydras. He even selected it, too, and then decided he didn't want to spend it on something. So he's saving his resources for something. There's a lot of minerals, too. Could definitely be expanding, especially since he's got advanced knowledge of all sorts of things when it comes to the scouting moves. That set of quas in the middle and whatnot. Positron drop incoming. Okay, so this is an interesting choice. If he keeps some of the Hydras at home and the hatch does go down in the natural, Kenoli could be in a good state of defense. But right now they're pretty out by the natural choke, and it does look like a Legionnaire did end up getting that deep in order to scout it. There is a Witness coming. Now we have those Larvosks morphing at 2 at the same time. Yeah, I'm a little bit puzzled by Kenoli's decision-making there, because if he was just going to morph them anyway, it would have been better to have them sooner. But man's got some resources, that's for sure, and only on 20 Droleth. It doesn't look like the Positron drop is going to get scouted ahead of time. These units arriving tragically way too late to stop it, and I say that despite the fact that the Positron drop has actually not progressed. But we are going to see a couple of Izira cores out at the very least, but no, he banked it. He didn't send it in yet. So this little strategic delay there happening in a way that is quite nice, because the Witness just spotted all of those units hatching. Second one's going to move over the entire army. We got the Hatcherusks there. Now, where are those drops that are earmarked by Kenoli? He's actually banking them for some time, and all of those quads are not out on the map, and they're certainly not defending the Droleths. We got mass casualties here for the worker count. That was at least 8 Droleth going down, and, well, he has the Witness here to see them, so he doesn't actually need to worry about that. I don't think that's something that Kenoli considered. He's pulled back now all of his forces. This is very late. I don't know why he didn't pull back more of his forces sooner, but definitely pulling them all back feels like, well, then I can just escape like this. And so we actually saw Hamano's units doing a little bit better versus stuff like that. What? Field testing the Ecclesiast gun, I guess. We have seen, Hamano had his roving hit squad of anti-envoy Cyprians and stuff on Gilded Wall, but it still didn't quite work out for him. And I got to say the same thing about this. Kenoli now making 2 more Ovoleths to try to clear the Witnesses out. He does need to be careful that the next attempt from Sosij isn't successful. He's very far down in workers now, at half the worker count of his opponent. And he, once again, lets it come on into him. At the very least, the dropping here isn't too bad. Maybe not. There's a lot more dead Droleth than I thought. 4 more casualties. And he hasn't made any more. He is trying to get that static defense up, but he still hasn't sniped this Witness in the main. We saw the one go down more closer to the natural, and it does look like it will finally be exfoliated, shall we say, but this has been pretty bad. This is Sosij playing with his food right now. Oh yeah, I was supposed to say that's the Sosij water at the end of one of my casts with Sosij, and then I forgot, so now you hear it again. A pretty dire-looking match. The one Quaz and the Tensender will at the very least possess it. And make it so that Sosij has to take some time handling that. So now he can move on across unimpeded. And now the drops hit from Kenoli. He was keeping these in his back pocket, and he really didn't use them to spectacular effect, it must be said. It looks like only a few workers have actually died. He is going to unload over here in the back. Remember, this is a decent number of Quas, or at least it was. He's already lost a considerable amount unloading in the Warden, it looks like, and spending a lot of that time dealing with that. Only 1 Zealot remaining over here, but it looks like only 5 Quas are present, and Sosij is massing at the doorstep. At the very least, Kenoli does have a lot of units, and so this is going to be an opportunity for him to hold in theory, but the one Positron with the army is really dangerous for everything here. He's going to keep doubling back. He only has the 1 Circuit because another one was a Spraith. Tries to unload inside the worker line here, only ends up getting what looks to be 1 kill on workers, and that will be well defended. Not nearly as much economic damage as those Positron drops did for Sosij's favor. But I guess these scribes aren't actually mining right now, so there is that, and a Cantor gets unloaded. A lot of Rilla cores were made. An interesting choice. He needs that armor shred, he thinks. Could have been a really brilliant move at the end of the day, actually. And, whoa, the Positron. Oh, he went in to try to save the Positron, but the Spraith contributed way more damage than he thought it was going to, so he loses the Acantor as well. A huge unforced error, and Kenoli turns the table, charging him down with the help of that Rilla core. Armor Rend, beautiful. I don't think I've ever seen somebody pre-make a bunch of Rilla Row cores for the defense. He doesn't have Shroud Tech. He needed some method of getting that armor shred. He didn't have time to go for Vorvs. He doesn't even have the tech structures. So a really nice move there from Kenoli. Genuinely never saw that before. I wonder if that's even something he's actually drilled or planned. Now he's going to have to contend with the Protoss army on the high ground, and the Zealots even turning and fighting. Remember, these Ecclesiasts are sort of like shield healers around the target that they hit. Any allies with shields near them will receive some shields back, and that healing can be pretty stacked up with a lot of Ecclesiasts, keeping individual Zealots alive for a long time. And it's compounded by the fact that the Zealot actually gets 1 bonus armor as long as it still has shields. So very important versus things like Hydralisks, Iziracors, Quasilisks that do have to take armor into consideration. Now, the ski-backed Scab approaches. 12 Iziracors as well. This is going to be an interesting set of choices for the Zerg player. I'm guessing he's going to wait until he goes all the way up to the Tethvith Swamp. But Bactylisks could help him range down some of those infantry units that are supporting the Protoss cause so much. And in a pinch, they handle Acantors due to the fact that the Acantor actually isn't that heavily armored. So it is still a possibility. And I also love that Kenoli is adding another Spraith at the corner of his base. Obviously, there is a little bit of a gap in this direction here. But overall, I really like that he's going to be covering that, handling that for himself. Capping the gas in here. The Crucible is aware, and it does look like he's going to have to commit that Acantor to the fight. A Zealot also unloads, so yeah, this actually, the two of them together can absolutely kill a Circus, but there are reinforcements in the area, and the one armor, the Acantor, never been more obvious given the fact that those Iziracors were doing damage to it. Look, it's 5. That's all they do, but when you need all 5 of them, all 5 of that damage, you're still getting some good value. Expanding to a double gas base here is Kenoli. Every base, of course, it tends to have multiple resource nodes, His spread army out on the front is going to be revealed, and the Witness is accompanying them. Not that there's any Lakes to detect, but it does mean that Sosij can keep an eye out on the mid-game army movements. 17 more Hydras, and the Tethvith Swamp begins for our Zerg player. Ardent Authority number 2 coming up for Sosij. And the Zerg army still really quite heavily focused on defending this high ground area, at the very least interceding as the Protoss army does come up and equalize the height levels. Falling back to the choke a little bit, now trying to pre-spread the army. Kenoli spiking his APM up, not as high as his opponents. And we do have those Iziracors on the front line. I don't really think the Protoss army can break through this without a lot of Positrons or those Acantors, which are still not in the fight. Oh, Sosij was trying to muscle his way up here, and all he successfully did was engage before his heavy hitters are. Now look at the size of his gateway army. It's half of the size. Even still, the Acantors popping off with shot after shot, finding huge impact. And this is what the fight could have looked like if Sosij had waited for those frontliners. Another Acantor's crawled across, and that's the real danger, is the Hydra count is so significant now that he could just hunt down that position, and Sosij has not controlled the rest of the map very well. Look at what we have in that third base. That 12 o'clock with gas is being harvested. Something that Magnetron is a little notorious for is that the true 12 o'clock is a mineral only, and look, the third base on the same height level as you, also a mineral only. You gotta go pretty far to get gas in the mid game. And that's just an interesting little thing to play around, but we are seeing the results of Kenoli just deciding to expand to the rich gas base instead. And the result will be, I'm sure, tier 2 at this rate, considering the resources in the bank. But we are definitely going to need to see more mineral expenditure. He's got enough gas for tier 2 at the very least. Maybe if he puts down a shroud so that he can start making a few more mineral-heavy units like the Zoryus, that could also help him out a little bit. I'm sitting here looking at his base instead of everything else on the map, just waiting for him to actually spend his money. It turns out he wants to spend it on a whole buttload of Tethzoricors. So Tethzoricors have changed in somewhat recent time. That time being, oh, well, hold that thought. This Envoy is going to have to sustain a few more shots here. No protection over here is a little bit bold, but that is exactly the Kenoli way. And it can't quite finish the Envoy off, but it looks like Sosij thought that maybe... Oof. Sosij thought that maybe it would end up working out in Kenoli's favor, so he dove back. Now, a Droleth pull, a couple of dead workers here, pretty good. And down the last Zealot will go. I like the run-bys. I like that little bit of harassment. It does feel bad that the Acantor ended up going down and that the Envoy is so wounded now, but he was just setting up shop to unload over here so that he could assail the Spraith from afar, just causing a little bit of problems here. Kenoli building up to that Death Ball, if you will, for the Zerg, though, the Death Swarm. Oh, not even bothering with the static defense, just shut it down from out here. This is kind of what I envisioned about taking this low ground base, is it is a little bit risky. And the K-Gra hasn't shown itself in the top left yet, but that is the base number 4 for our Zerg player. Sosij hoping to start harvesting more minerals at the mineral only. And if he just dropped like 4 more gateways, that would be wonderful. But instead, he's actually kind of sort of switching into servitor production. I don't hate it. They are a mineral sink, but you do need a lot of ardents, and he has a lot. He has 4, and it's pretty heavy. Looks like the Acantor has once again been got, and the Envoy is just scouting around to see things. I mean, at a certain point, you got to worry that the Zerg is able to play SimCity a little bit too well. Still a detector following this army. Ovolith down here. It would be a really funny idea to move the army all the way down to the Ovolith instead of moving the Ovolith up here, but that's all right. And as you can see, there is actually like a pathing blocker in the middle of the mound once the Tencender is removed, so it's not perfect in that respect. For pathing large armies, but that's kind of the point of this area, is it's a bit of cover to play around. I guess I stole that from Counter-Strike map architecture and the concept of cover, but that is kind of what I think about it. It's like pillars and stuff you can like walk by. Just think about it like you're playing the Cosmonarchy tabletop. Holy Acantor! All right, 9 Acantors. Well, the Bactals finish up in the perfect time to actually fight this. I do not know who is going to end up winning this fight. The Bactals can target down the Clarions, the Hydra count coming in from the right-hand side, and the Tetsors can just not be pummeled to death, but now the Acantors have their way against a whole bunch of clumped up frontliners, but there was no frontline for Sosij left over, and even though the last of the Tetsors on the front are taken out, all the Acantors go up in smoke. And it's all down to the fact that the Acantors once again couldn't join the fight in time. That was a lot closer. You saw the turn at the end there that could have been. But this has been a commonality between all of the fights that I've seen with these Acantors, that as soon as they join, they can turn the table, but suddenly Sosij is down a lot of workers, a lot of units, and I guess 9 workers. But that's not even what I was intending to say. The Iral Iris is also here, down in tech, and the Ovolith comes in to snipe the last of that witness detection. There's another one joining the Acantors here, but surely at some point, especially with Tier 2 done, Kenoli will just think about making a second army and hitting this 3rd base, if he's aware that it exists. But, you know, given that the Zerg is on 4 base, I'm sure he's considered that his opponent has some more as well. 2 unitary unions warping in around the Crucible, a good choice in terms of centralizing the production. This base in the main has been depleted for both players. There's a couple of straggler resources here, but you are going to see full depletion shortly in the Zerg base, which is not something we get to see all the time. Capping the gases. Oh, with the Tosril Haunt coming, I think I know what we're going to be seeing. A whole lot of Protathalors, no doubt. And then there'll be Sovroliths. So the Zerg super weapon is going to be engaged here. And I, for one, just couldn't be happier. It is something that I think about a lot when it comes to the game, the set, the whole ordeal, is how often do we even see Sovroliths? But this is really funny. Excisant action. I mean, genuinely, what are we looking at here? All right, I guess this is it. This is the game. Another one coming into the main base drops the Acantor there, and a lot of worker casualties are going to be happening. But I think at this point, Kenoli, he's just happy to be here. He's just happy to use his Tosril Haunt now, surely. Unless hold on, we got to check stuff. No, he selected his workers. He's thinking about it. Oh, he only sent a few units up there. I don't think that's quite right. He is recalling all of his units. Okay, this is a real game. This is a live game. This is not what I thought it was. I thought it was broken. I thought the replay was wucked. But no, I think this is actually legit. 5,000 minerals is a Kenoli special. Wild. Absolutely wild. Well, I'm glad that we're here today to witness this game. I can't wait for the rest of the games at this point. You know, this is actually outrageous. He's just waiting on the Larvosks. He's it's been a long day at work shift, you know, doing his programming. Yeah, just send in a couple of riddles. That's fine. A couple Hydras come up as well. And they'll just dodge around a little bit. It's a micro game. Kenoli loves those. That took like 2 minutes to kill. That is really funny to me. All right, it's a Tozgralisks? I wasn't expecting that for some reason. I thought he was going to go Sovraleth. That's what everybody goes, but Kenoli does like to be different, I guess. Zorkish Shroud inside the resource line of the third base. He barely has any workers over here. It's like he transferred them all up here, but he's not even bothering to reharvest the gas. Maybe Kenoli needed a warm-up. Maybe he's a little sleepy. Avaleth may have started to come up. No, it turned back around, and Sosij sees that he needs his scribes to be sent to the right direction. 20 minutes, but it's not the typical investment that you would expect out of a game that looks like this. Cycling through the Vibrance is on the way. Well, he's got a lot of them. He does have a lot of them, so... yeah. Bactals, Hydra, Iziracors. It's a pretty basic tier 1 looking army, actually. You know, it's powerful. But the 9 Tozgralisks and 6 more coming behind, I don't know what I'm looking at. He hasn't resetted his gas in the main base. He has started to reset the gas over here. Protoss army now thinking about moving ahead. But the Witness, oh, the Vibrance, something should have been with the army. No, I guess not. He pulls his army back towards this 4th base and the workers away, knowing where his opponent is. He's going to send the 1 Vibrance somewhere, it looks like. 1 Iziracor tickling, saying hi. Kenoli is pleased by this. More mutas being made, I'm sure to just, because, you know, you need something else with the Tozgralisks. Those used to be tier 3 units. Can you believe that? Envoy's empty, Vibrance arrives. So, yeah, the burrow is pretty good here. There's no detection. I actually don't know if the... No, the Vibrance isn't close enough to any of these units to be healing itself. So, that's a little bit of a... Like, you can actually put it, like, right up here, and then it will be fine, but that's pretty bad for Sosij. He doesn't have a perpetual harassment machine now. The Asilians are coming in the production tab, but do we have any with the army? No, not quite. And I think the air raid here is going to be finishing us off. Not in a head-up fight. Oh, actually, Kenoli could be in a lot of trouble thinking about it. We got the Positrons ready to go. Servitors on the front as well. This has been such a weird game. I was waiting for Kenoli to just win the game because he's got his units and he's got his tech, but the Positrons can seriously fight this. If they're angled at the right target. How many Posies do we even have left, though? Actually, hold on. He's got 10 of them. They are starting to falter. He's hitting ground and air over here. You can see the Tozgralisks are getting pretty bruised, but maybe the range is still enough. And it does look like while the mutas will fall, the rest of the army is still sitting. Most of the ground army has been dealt with. Kenoli is going to have to deal with some more dedicated anti-air soon. The 1 Asilian here notwithstanding. Yeah, 14 of these things. They are pretty good at handling things, and 8 more is on the way. They're powerful units with the bounce attack. You don't want to mess with them. But now multiple Vibrances have hit this base. Okay. What are we even seeing here? This is a ludicrous fight. This is so silly. The Zorius v Vibrance. He's going to get pretty close to the Iris, I think, and then he's going to see that there's no workers over here. Well, here come the Tozgralisks. They'll be taking care of business. Avaleth here for detection as well. No worries about the cloak. Finally, they've been taken care of. Again, think about the amount of time that Sosij bought himself with those, though. Hasn't reset his 4th base, so economically not doing so hot. Has a lot of gas, but doesn't have like grand libraries or anything you can spam out Cantavus for with a gas sink or like anything that really does a lot of gas. He doesn't really have access to a lot of production queues that he can spare. I mean, he could try, you know, getting something out of the Unitary Union, but he needs those Asilians and most likely needs more Vibrances for the big, I wanted to say team fight, but big fight, the army fight. 22 Tozgralisks are on the way. I was just watching this RB like it'd be pulled away from where it actually needs to be, and Sosij loses his 4th Nexus. I think maybe we're seeing what I was fearing earlier about the unmitigated Kenoli tech-up. This has been a really good first jaunt into the set, though, I can say that for sure. And it looks like now the army is trying to rotate into this match in a way that can actually deal with the Tozgralisks. He's got a couple of Asilians. I don't think that they have the range. It almost feels like you need Unars here. But those are only single target. And they would need 2 rounds to kill a single Tozgralisk. So, a little bit concerning. And again, he just can't handle it. He needs to get that Avaleth out of the way so at least his cloaked units can handle things. But The Vibrance doesn't handle air units, so a bit irrelevant anyway. Yeah, look, just look at the fact that he hasn't been able to kill any of these. Like, there's still 22 of them. And Kenoli's money has dipped down below what it was. He's got more Tozgrolisks back at home. He's got a bunch of Zoryus. He's got his ground army over here that's mostly Zoryus and has some Hydras. Engram's starting to warp in, which makes some sense. Just now noticed there was a 4th gateway in the natural. The more you know. Oh, the Witness to Health. There's nothing to shoot up. I mean, the Hydras are out of the way. Up to 30. Well, I guess there is an Engram here, but there's no fire support for it. Engram does splash damage, but Tozgrolik's got some health. Some health and some armor. I think with this amount, we probably are going to see the game end. The Ancestral Archives could make a Patriarch, but it won't finish, and it won't be canceled either. That's a lot of money Sosij just lost. He's even just losing the Ardent to the bounce attacks. He got the ground army out in the front, keeping the rest of Sosij's forces out of, you know, the possibility. It looks like he's pulled the go button, but he's losing his Nexus. This must feel a little bit dire because that many Tozgrolisks would be a hard press for this army to deal with, even if there weren't a bunch of ground units in the field. And Sosij no longer has any presence outside, no longer has any presence up north to stop the growth of Kenoli to the top left, the 12 o'clock, and the 3 o'clock. The Zoryus are going to engage and take a long time to be chewed through, and there will be no time for it as the last of Sosij's army crumbles before our very eyes. GG. Sosij has been defeated, and that was only our first look into this set. We got more games for sure, but Magnetron delivered a 26.5-minute match. I am very surprised about that one. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to, quickly set Kenoli up 1. We got at least 2 more maps, and I don't think Sosij is gonna let the kind of things like that happen again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Corrosion up next in this Sosij versus Kenoli set. We got the Pumpkin Zerg of Kenoli in the top left and the Eggshell Blue Protoss of Sosij in the bottom right, and those colors will remain the same throughout the whole damn series. That's what they like to do. Kenoli up 1 so far, and looks like he's going to be sending a Droleth out to partake in a little bit of scouting, see what Sosij is up to. Of course, a Protoss looking to strike back and get on the board. I feel like, interestingly enough, Sosij has delayed his gateway a little bit here. No, it's not a gateway. That's why. It's a lattice. You needed the Vespene for it. So, opening up with a lattice, that's going to be very different than your gateway open. You might even feel compelled to make a vassal, but you can go Simulacrum open, and the Zerg has to respect the idea that you could have a flying unit out kind of early. Larvosk open for Kenoli, so his first military unit will be similarly, similarly timed to the nature of things. Same thing that happened in Magnetron will happen here. First combat unit from Sosij may arrive before the combat units are done. And he's already starting to bite, slow down the economy a little bit, just be a nuisance, just be a little bugger. Look at that. He really wants that scribe. So, good. I'm glad. Yeah, it's nice when you can have moments like that. Kenoli's like, I'm going to show you how you do it. Pulls every worker. Stops mining entirely. Doesn't kill the worker. But still, pretty good. Got a lot of damage though. Maybe that'll matter for like a Quaz attack or something. It is vassals. They are vassals for Sosij. And a second lattice as well, which was scouted. All this was scouted, so this is something that Kenoli's going to be aware of. His pool's going to finish, but the first vassal is just about halfway across the map. He needs Quaz for sure. 4 pairs are coming. You'd want that anyway, so it's not too much of a differentiation, but Zets can be pretty effective at just kind of running past vassals. So we might even see that be the choice, as vassals are spotted here. And the scribe secures the kill on the Droleth. You're wondering why he unburrowed. It's because you can stand on burrowed units with a ground unit, and so that's what the scribe would have done. So he's just going to go ahead and burrow his... I love the burrow traps Kenoli has. He's so good with them. And that's when he knew. He fucked up. We do have Zets coming. I do really think you could send, like 8 pairs of Zets across the map versus vassal comps. if you can get up to that amount. And the larva count is going to rise for Kenoli. He's already set up with the gas for his third larva producing structure, a second larvosk. Also keep in mind that he's not harvesting Vespene anymore, so he is going to commit to now a hatch, as we see, and a whole lot more pool units for a little bit, since you need Vespene for either of the other military options. There it is. The hatch comes out. I actually really like Kenoli's game plan for this match. I think he's responding to the attack well. It's obviously different than what we saw in game 1, but the scribe out here for just a little bit of health is actually going to go down. And maybe even chancing it up here. You get increased movement speed when you find an attack. So that's pretty legit. I mean, this is looking nice for Sosage's opponent. He's going to fall back to a more defensive position. But the Zets arrive at a pretty good time as well to get right in front of the idols. And oh, he even catches an idol. I think that was one that was wrapped around a little bit. And now you can see, this is where I was saying if you had a lot more Zets, you could probably just dive onto the Warden. I know the workers are here to try to drill a little bit, but still. And it does look like the workers are going to be what's focused here. He did get one free simulacrum, it looks like, but, you know, losing some of that economy isn't great. Even gets a burrow off at the end. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be allowed, but yeah, one free sim, lost a number of workers, lost a lot of tempo because all of that attack was inside Sosage's base and mineral line. So as exciting as it was, it does feel to me like Kenoli ends up a little bit ahead there. Tied in workers, but was free to make more military units since maintaining an economic edge didn't require him to dispense with all of his military quite yet. He's got a lot more quas. He should probably set up some static defense. I was thinking the same thing as he was, I guess, because he goes and puts a Kegger and pulls the drill left. And the Zorka Shroud. Okay, now there's one thing to mention, and that is that Kenoli is kind of weak right now to incoming aggression, but the Protoss units are not as sturdy and durable as you would expect them to be. And I do like that he's withdrawing to another round of quas here. So Kenoli should be safe. He had the little high ground advantage for a moment there, and that would have been nice to preserve. Oh, of course. Yeah, do the burrow trick here. I mean, I did say that Kenoli's pretty crafty with it. He probably needs to unburrow a few more or something like that so that Sosij actually buys it as the number of quas he saw earlier. But, you know, I guess he's just going to go ahead boldly and see what's up. And this is going to be a sick move from Kenoli. Remember all those quads since they attacked recently and moved faster in the moment. And that guts Sosage's army. He only now had his first gateway unit come out, and it's going to already be reduced below half HP. All of its shields gone. Maybe it'll even die, depending on when these Kenoli quas strike again. It's funny because I don't really associate the Quasilist with Kenoli per se. I associate, I guess, some pool units in general, but it's particularly the Vorvs because that's how he broke onto the scene as he found the push V key, the V key on his keyboard to make the Vorvacore. That was what everybody said. But as of right now, it's looking like the Quas are the new trademark unit. Warden almost gets picked off there. Would have been nice to do so. He's actually luring a few of these sims out, but he's just going to double back. Only has 23 quads. That's not that many for a siege upon the base. Remember that this whole time, you know, Kenoli has had a natural up for some time. He's had the ability to draw left. And look at this, an idle walkthrough. Just walked right by all of the structures. Sosij has found pretty consistent methods throughout the two maps now that we've seen. He's found ways to be a heckler economically. Sending a bunch of drollets out. I think they're going to be going ahead and garrisoning those side bases, which is pretty good. But when you're losing out on mining for your main base, it's not as good. A bunch of rills are going to be made. The idol will be chewed through. You can walk over those, by the way, but Sosij was busy doing other things. Gateway in the natural. Embassy in the main. This feels like more of an artisan game, or what was intended to be an artisan game, particularly due to the neutral resources on the map as well. But I do have to say, this... I don't think that Sosij is in an economic position right now to do that. Kenoli obviously is going to rebuild his worker count, or I guess he's going to make more workers than he had before. But so eventually he'll be in a position of pretty good economics compared to his opponent. He's obviously up 10 workers now, but these are less efficient. These workers are less efficient than they would be, with the maybe exception of the reservoir since it's 7 gas instead of the 5. In fact, I think corrosion might even benefit. First of all, fix this. Second of all, It might even benefit from the reservoir being just a geyser instead of an upgraded one. Because it's still valuable to have that extra income if it's not punished by your opponent, but it might be overdetermined right now. No anti-air defenses inside the natural, and the quads are hanging out inside the main, so this is going to be somewhat successful heckling once again for Sosij. Good on him. Double Ardent behind it. Baro does come out. Zorius gets tickled to make a free rill. Now he's doing negative value. Oh no! Somebody tell Hepsea about the free units monger. Looks like he's going to go ahead and put a Spraith down here. And then just start returning to harvest. I do wonder what the plan was with those vassals, other than to do the heckling here. But yeah, they're getting some value. I mean, not anymore, but they did shut down the mining for a little bit. And I guess they drew pressure away from this, but the Envoy almost goes down. Yeah, successful enough. I mean, the Drollet's all evacuated, so you have to point at it and say, wow, this was actually pretty good. Quaz coming back over in that direction. There's so many units in every base, basically, on the other side of the map for Kenoli to spy on his opponent. Envoy very low and still technically within a stabbing distance. I like the high ground being pushed out a little bit further so that you do have a little bit of a think about whether there's an incoming drop. You can like put a structure down here. It's kind of like Knife's Edge mains to me. So I think BDB did well for that. Now the Envoy does spy the workers, so those little outposts there are not going to be super safe for so much longer. 2 pairs of Nathacors are being made, as well as a Calcure Lake. And the Ulgorg is already done, which I didn't even notice. So his clear plan is to use his Zorius as little factories here for the Ultra Core. 3 more idols in a drop. There is a Spraith that was being made. Oh, but they had to unload for the Quaz. Yeah, kind of exposed there, but I guess he can go to the top right and shut down the mining nonetheless. There's only 1 Quaz over here at the 3 o'clock. Avaleth out. Multiple Avaleths out. Just for scouting, though. They're not holding anything. And Naths are starting to patrol, maybe looking for artisans. Idols are going to walk up and see if they can clear the Drollets here. Also doing the same thing down here with other lattice units. So good job shutting this down promptly. You can't deal with that with Naths. That's not really what they're there for. But he might be able to use them to kill the Envoy and ground the units. Especially since it has almost no... Yeah, it hardly has any health. I don't know where it is. It might have already died. I guess we'll select the Naths. Nope. No idea. Looks like 2 Drollets made it back, maybe 3. Lyra's being made. This is a pretty scary Zerg army, that's for sure. See what Sosij can do to try to hold on to that. He does have a Cantors, which have been a good choice versus Ultra Cores in the past when you have the right number. Actually, think about how many Sosij had in the last game. That's not as many as he would need necessarily, but if he was out in the middle of nowhere and they weren't funneling through one area, yeah, you definitely need that many. Avaleth pushed back. Can't quite spy on the opponent in the same way anymore. And there's the Envoy. I was wondering if it died. Quad sees the move out. This is going to be a trigger for Kenoli to move forward. His Iris is halfway complete, though. Maybe he doesn't want to move forward, making a bunch of Vorvs. Teching up as well. I mean, this is an interesting set of decisions from Kenoli. I wonder what he wants to do, as he is double expanding. And the Lyras are more than enough to push back a couple of Lattice units. That's the other thing to point out. Sosij doesn't have a strong army right now. His strength is all in the Cantors, the backbone of his army. Definitely needs to dial in his army movements, as we saw in the previous. He does have a drop incoming. I guess if it drops over here, it will have enough power to shut down the mining at the natural, and that would be more valuable than attacking this 12 o'clock. Protoss army falling way back. A lot of Zerg army units waiting to go. And look at this, the Spire on the way directly. He is going to unload on the 12 o'clock, but here come the Cloud of Gnats. And they just immediately annihilate that. See ya. Ultra Core revealed. Maybe didn't need to do quite that if he didn't want to, but the tech is now available, and it seems like Sosij is taking this as a window to attack forward. He sees the tech and knows he needs to do something about it. He does have a lot of Servitors, and they do have 3 armor pens, so they're not terrible versus Ultra Cores, but they do need to focus their fire. It's kind of the same thought process behind the a Cantor count needing to be high. You need to have a lot of damage incoming. And Ultra Core is not just tanky, moves fast when it consumes a corpse, but it also attacks faster when it consumes a corpse for a short time. And while it's in general, as it's attacking, it is getting life back. It has lifesteal. So it's a drain tank, I guess you could say. 13 pairs of Mutalisks are on the way, and that is not what Sosij wants right now. Idols going to be more than enough to deal with them in a head-on fight, but they can go where the idols aren't. They can position around the map and do some very nice damage. Oh, I didn't even notice this, but he has to have way more workers on his ridge because of his lattice placement. That's just like a tilter, you know. That's not really a huge issue in this case, but, you know, it is costing you efficiency. And it is an error that feels unforced in that respect. More pairs of mutas, 5 of them. Well, we have 36 up all in total once we add that together. So that's a lot of muta. Definitely don't try to fight the idols all told, because the splash damage will eat you up. But with those, you can do so many things. Hit the third base that's being warped in, or go for the natural where all the workers are, really. Raid in here and destroy the Crucible. Like, there's a lot of things those mutas are going to be capable of. Ultra Core's off to the pocket. It looks like the mutas are just going to attack with everything else, though. This is what it's set up for. The crunch, which feels like almost 180 degrees of a surround, or a 270 degree surround here, as Kenoli dives forward. His Ultra Core's absorbing all of the idle shots. The focus fire wasn't really there from Sosij, and he will concede that game. GG. Kenoli is happy to take this set to elimination point, to qualification point for him. 2-0. Sosij is going to need to do some serious business in order to get back into the driver's seat, to have a shot at getting out of the Tribunal stage as a champion. So let's see if he can do it. Game 3 coming up. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Game 3 between Sosij and Kenoli. Our underdog, Kenoli, the man who shall not be denied entry into the throne room stage even when he has no business being there, is on his way to Battlements with a 2-0 start to the series. And Sosij is, he's going to need to reverse sweep it, boys. He's going to need to reverse sweep it if we're going to be going that far. What is he going to do differently in the series? That's the question. Gateway on the way. And I guess one of the things I'm thinking about is whether or not that lattice style we'll see play later. I feel like it does have a weaker mid-game transition, unless you're going to be only opening with like 2 lattice. If you go the third one, it's really hard to find purpose for it, because you can make golems or whatever in the mid game, but you need damage behind it. And that's something that actually gateway units provide more of, while also being sturdier, but maybe just less mobile, less splash oriented. There's some benefits that you get elsewhere. Is Kenoli... What? No. What? No. What the fuck? Kenoli expanding to the other main as his Hatch First built. The return of Hatch First, guys. He is the Hatch First guy. Hatch First pool. I mean, this is bad. This is not good. You can just tell, because he's gonna have to slowly build up workers over here while also occasionally building structures. He's not actually going to be able to unify any of the units made from these 2 bases. We're on Frozen Sylphid, by the way. Neo Sylphid Frozen Edition. What? That doesn't make any sense. But maybe Kenoli's just trying to style a little bit. Maybe he's like, yeah, I can hatch first. In another place. I'm doing something strange. What will you do? And, you know, Protoss brain is just like, I send Zealot at enemy. Oh, he didn't even get the scribe. He only needed 1 more hit. Kenoli. Holy Kenoli. You got a base. I'm casting a 3-player FFA, guys. We got Kenoli and Sosij and Kenoli. So, there you go. All 3 spawns occupied. Just kind of marching around, just kind of looking around, just kind of seeing what they can see. But so far, it doesn't feel like that Zealot wants to move in. He must be auraed. He must be scared of Kenoli's aura. Like, there's not really a reason the Zealot shouldn't have gone in there, right? Was he worried that maybe the next round of Drolats were actually were combat units? Because they weren't. But yeah, he's making more over here. 4 pairs of quads. Dude, Kenoli cannot get away with this. This is outrageous. Because, yeah, Sosij is also correct. If he just makes a couple more combat units and moves across the map, the Pole Army is going to be too slow to deal with it. There's no way Kenoli should be allowed to be across the map right now. Like, you just A-move on that position, surely. No, Sosij doesn't believe in himself, or the heart of the cards, or Protoss. Alexander liked that last part. Anchor on the high ground. I guess that's going to be garrisoned by Kenoli. He likes it. Or at least he'll stand next to it and pet it a little bit. The idle animation of the quads. Zealot Legionnaire pocketed off to the side. A sort of Protoss version of the Burrow Trap, I guess. Units move pretty fast, so... He attacked himself again. Sosij special. Hydrathin starting up for Kenoli. I don't think he's going to have time to leverage tech that he actually needs here. I guess the attack move could slow him down, like in the Magnetron game where the 10 Cinder took like 10 seconds. Oh, it's actually pulled a lot of combat units up here. This is what you do in the Terran tutorial, by the way. This is your strat. You distract them by pulling their attention up here to the high ground. Anchor does end up going down. The 1 clause has been exfoliated, but it does come at the cost of tempo, of time. We got 10 claws back at home. Of course, the 6 that are returning. And the Hydrathin's halfway done. I mean, maybe. He does have 8 Droleth. He is steadily making Droleth. So he's going to have 10 workers on that second base. I guess that is something of an economy. It just feels like he doesn't have any static defense. He's relying purely on quads. Zealot Ecclesiast can deal with stuff like this. We got a Hierophant coming as well. Only 2 Ecclesiasts. That is a sticking point. And Kenoli is trying to lure him in and go for a pounce. The first Ecclesiast getting zeroed in on. Honestly, not bad. Not bad defense there. He picks a Zealot as well. Or no, that was a Legionnaire. You can tell by the corpse. Now trying to cycle backwards. I mean, this 1 Ecclesiast alone can still help turn the tide. And the Positron for splash damage. I mean, this is bad. He's got nothing in production. He's only made more claws. No Hydras, no Iziracors, nothing to get close to the enemy. And now sandwiched by the mineral field. Discombobulated. I think 5 claws just went down. No armor shred from the surprise Rilla Rokor, the pocket rill. That was such a cool move, by the way. But it doesn't seem to matter how cool the move is. We got reinforcing units. Trying to get on top of the Positron. It just turns on a dime. It cycles away. Look at, you can tell. 9 kills already. It's dealt easily 600 damage. 1 Iziracor has been made. A Circuith is on the way. Is got idle workers over here. Just like Kenoli would. Larvos being focused down. Nice choice. Sosij clearly happy to just walk around here. And the Circuith finishes up, but it only gets 2 hits off before it goes down. Nice opportunistic pick on the Ecclesiast, but Zealot Positron is more than enough. We even have a Hierophant to start speeding up their attack rate and slow down the Circuits. More Zealots marching in. Kenoli can't handle this. He's got 1,000 minerals and 700 gas, and sometimes he has more than that even when he is in control, but this is not that case. Circuit's desperately trying to remorph as soon as the opportunity presents themselves. This one's going to finish, but still be at half health, and the others are shut down before they can even get close. All of the static defense is dead. Most of the combat units are dead. And we got more gateway units streaming across the map as we speak. The Positrons can start to feast upon the expansion, and GG is called below before 7 minutes. Sosij on the board. That's what we needed to see, ladies and gentlemen. We needed to see some Protoss victory. And I, for one, am very glad to see Sosij get on the board. Let's see map 4, shall we? A little bit of egg on face as Sosij has been able to get on the board because Kenoli decided to hatch expand on a 3-player map to the other main. Still, I think there might have actually been play based on Sosij's response. It was a little bit low aggro, a little bit more conservative. If 1 Zealot just moved across the map and attacked the Droleths for a while, it would have been pretty painful. So just keep that in mind. That's something I kept thinking about. Kenoli, Pumpkin, Zerg, bottom right. Sosij, Eggshell Blue, Protoss, top right. I mentioned on Corrosion that that's something that you're going to see all the time, is that these 2 colors are consistent. And I was not lying. We are on to map number 4 in our series. This is Tesseract. And yeah, we do have Macroglia waiting in the wings. That is our decider if we need it. Pretty interesting stuff. We have the Kagrant coming in, looking good, waiting for its opportunity to start birthing larvae. We got double gate. Sosij is doing his thing. Sosij is just going to be doing 2 gate. It's a fairly aggressive start to the game, going 3 gate pressure, and then... Oh. I'm allergic to Protoss. The pool coming down now out of sight of the Scribe, but I don't think you're going to quite deny the Scout. I guess he's going to try to. It's almost... This actually almost for a second makes it feign that you didn't make a pool and instead you're trying to go expand after Larvosk, which I understand why Kenoli would want to indicate that, but yeah. Interesting stuff. Sorry for the jump kick, guys. I needed a bathroom break, and I should have stopped in between games, but I did not. So we are looking, of course, at the this match on Tesseract here. I see the Drillets have been pulled to try to deal with the pool. It did look almost like Kenoli wanted to try to grab the hatch, and then when he attacked the Scribe, it came back down to get more information about what was going on. It was just a funny case where you're like looking a little too suspicious, and so then the action is seen. Pool on the way. Just about ready to hatch. We got 2 pairs of rills. Workers can decollide over here. I love that the Scribe is helping out over here too. To try to assist in laying down some damage. Does make the Legionnaire have to hit 1 less time, so it is pretty powerful. And if you hit it with 3 Scribe hits, then you reduce it even more. The second Legionnaire has arrived. Some Zets have hatched. No focus onto that military. Instead, he was trying to get more worker kills. That was pretty good. That was pretty good details there from Sosij. And all those units got canceled out, which were going to be military units, and now more workers. So can only looking to make up the difference there. He does have a really good sense for how you participate in this Droleth larva balancing. You know, do you spend your money on workers or do you spend it on military? Well, you don't have to make that choice as other races as much. That's just required. Versus thinking about how Sosij has to force his opponent to spend the larva, which are the real bottleneck here, on one thing or the other. In order to balance that, you need to be a pretty good Zerg player in order to do that kind of thing. So I am just saying, strategically, Kenoli has a good sense for that. I guess tactically, Kenoli has a good sense for that. Some things you can learn even if your APM's already higher than him. Just saying. Just saying. I say that before actually looking at the APM a lot of the time, and then I wonder if sometimes I'm like ragging on Kenoli's APM, and he's got like 172 because he's in the middle of a fight or something. Not typically. Embassy, Ardent Authority. I think, you know, the really cool thing about Kenoli, if I may say, is that he doesn't have any illusions about his mechanical level. He enjoys finding ways to beat the game and beat players with just making... what do you call it? Just making good strategic decisions about things. That's what he enjoys. And so for him, he's just like, hell yeah, it's cool. I'm doing this. And he doesn't care at all when people are like, you got no APM, Kenoli. He's like, well, yeah, but that's almost the feature. That's the point. Positron on the way. We've got a couple more gateway rounds coming. The Envoy is here for drops, I'm assuming. Positron drops are pretty legit. Sosij does not have money to expand. Kenoli does, and will. As well as his considerable pool army is on the way. A single Legionnaire scout will actually catch this Zeth. That's, catch is the wrong word, but at least he's been made aware of it now. Does think about pulling his whole army back, but really, I think he's now realized, yeah, I should just make more combat units at home. I got my rills if I absolutely need them. And I should start going to pressure up here. And that's a good choice. Sosij does not have the Legionnaire particularly active right now. It's just parked behind the natural. And he's focusing his efforts on walling the ramp, making sure that there are no ways in for the pool units. The Positrons have been sighted. He can grab a second one. Yeah, he's going to do a double Positron drop. The question in my mind is, what do you do in response to this? Because Kenoli's had to deal with this on Magnetron. Kenoli has had to deal with some drops on Corrosion. These are things that are clearly features of Sosij's game plan, and he didn't need them in the previous game, and so we're not too worried about it. But getting the unload now makes some sense. He's going to go ahead and just deny mining a little bit. This is a pretty big loss. And on top of that, even without workers, you can still do this little trick where you just shoot in the direction of the burrowed units, and they will be caught. Okay, he kills one Droleth. Oh, ooh. If the Zets weren't in the middle of this fight, I say this all the time. I know that the Zets are also there to help deal with the units when they're unloaded. But if you get the ground units out of your anti-ground only units out of your way, you're gonna have a much better time handling those kinds of drops. And you'll typically not see, unless it's a really big, crazy moment, you typically won't see the like pro players throwing, I'm struggling to think about an example, but I guess like Zealots with their Dragoons in StarCraft 1, you're not going to see stuff like that when they're trying to deal with mutas or wraiths or whatever. I mean, typically you see other units in general, but that's sort of what I'm getting at. So the drops are an extension of that since the Envoy is so fast. And we do have a second Spraith morphing, a lot of larvae being banked here. Little choke point under control. Envoy comes back in. Only 10 health on that thing. Oh, well, it's immediately going to be brought down now. But the Positrons can still do some good damage. Only a few of the workers ended up getting evacuated there. Claws being spawn camped a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. One Positron's more wounded than the other. The Riddler Roper comes on down to try to reduce the armor, which does help for a moment. Expires relatively quickly. And the Claws are going to be going through a pretty tight choke point, but they will eventually deal with those Positrons. Sosage's Nexus is now complete, but I think at this point we can say that Kenoli isn't too far behind economically, especially if he makes another big round of Droleth. He isn't harvesting any Vespene right now, so that is a problem. Zealot Ecclesiast, single Legionnaire still hanging out, worker transfer from the main base. That is one thing about expanding a little bit later, is you do typically have plenty of workers to spare for a transfer, so you can immediately inject yourself into a higher level of economy. And Kenoli's still not mining gas, it's only minerals right now for the guy. Not only really now is he resaturating his main base anyway. Sosij looking like he can be making some meaningful inroads here, attacking forward. It's only pool units. Trying to dive onto those Positrons with the Zealot Ecclesiast was just going to still be a problem then. They're not actually dishing out damage. The Legionnaire is still alive. That's how undamaged this engagement has been for Sosij. Only a few Zealots have gone down so far. A Droleth in the front. Kenoli looking like he is about to lose his entire standing force. One circuit halfway complete. This reminds me of Frozen Sylphid. It will have to be canceled out. You can't finish that one. Just going after the hatch here. I actually really like this move. He will abate for just a moment. He's kind of being indecisive. I like it less when it's indecisive. And he even falls back. Maybe see if he can focus down the choke point here. He's already shut down the mining and the natural. Kenoli forced into making more claws. Doesn't have anything else that he could do. He made the Vornath and wasn't able to utilize it. Not that it would have helped him out that much versus the Positrons to begin with. Vorv Hydra maybe, but not Vorv Quasi. And yeah, this looks like he's on top of everything that matters. GG is exchanged. Kenoli has been brought to a tie series. And Sosij, my friend, you are now one game away as well of moving on to the Battlement stage. We gotta see how this series ends. Game 5 on Macroglia. Yeah, that's right. Game 5 on Macroglia is live. And Kenoli versus Sosij is what we're having. And Sosij, he's doing something cheeky. A 6 gateway open here versus Kenoli. Very cool. Very interesting. We got the Droleth coming out for a scout. But I don't actually know how often Kenoli has ever played versus something like this, or if he has any thoughts about it. In fact, comment below if you've even seen a 6 gate. Is this something that's actually been a thing? I know that, like, Nebelheim famously did 6 Stockade versus Veek 7 cross spawns on Nitro Valley. We're talking Ascension 7 all the way back, what, 2023 that might have been? 2024 maybe? No, it would have been 23. So that's a long time ago now. But that's the last time that I saw any race other than Zerg, of course, or I guess now Escozy, admittedly. They do have a 6 Radix build. Just interesting that it's 6 gate. It's already done. It's a minute 07, and he's got a Legionnaire coming. So very clearly a battle here that Kenoli's going to have to contend with. You know, he's maybe going to be going down some workers here, as he has already. He's getting a little bit of economic harassment. And remember, this is magnified by the fact that, you know, Sosij wasn't warping in any scribes from his Nexus for a while. It is a Legionnaire rush. That is the logical thing to do in this situation, I suppose. Like, if you wait for a Zealot, it's going to be throwing your early unit advantage, for your Zealot to hit, 30 seconds, 45 seconds faster probably doesn't mean much. We are going to get just Drolls. No static defense coming just yet for Kenoli, and he does keep his Droll here on the watch, which is going to hook this Legionnaire. And it looks like Sosij doesn't mind just letting it happen, but yeah, that's a pretty big distraction, actually. He will finally kill it, but back at home, some idle workers for Kenoli. Don't want the pressure to get over to you just yet, and that is going to be a second confirmed kill on the workers. 2 pairs of Rilla Rokors are being made, and the Drillets are trying to fight a little bit here. Remember, the Legionnaire isn't very tanky. But the micro has been better from Kenoli on the workers. He's actually struggling a little bit. That's going to be 3 dead workers before the Legionnaire goes down. Very good at handling business there, getting some good economic damage. It was a fairly committed start from Sosij, and it does feel like with quads coming out, you're not going to be able to make the Legionnaires your primary workhorse anymore. What would probably need to happen is you keep one out here and then bank a couple in the third base or something. And Sosij might even consider doing that more now that he's been pushed away, lost some hull damage. That economic disruption added up. Kenoli is 20 gas short of his Larvosk. Double Warden. Back at home for Sosij. This is very committed. This is a lot of money to be going down and not being able to use for anything. Now his Legionnaires are going to jump on the Quas. There haven't been any more combat units made during this time. Immediately, you're going to end up losing a couple of those Rilla Rokors. Wisely, though, Kenoli did pull his Quas back. And you can see Sosij is now going to try to commit to killing the army here. Drolls get pulled. 1 Legionnaire down. Needs to finish off those combat units. And the Zets are out. He's already forced a non-worker unit to be made, and so it's okay in theory. He's going to get maybe another worker? Yes, he does. That's 3 dead workers, I believe, in that exchange, at least 2. And he did force a lot of Zets out, and admittedly, Zets are a lot easier to deal with the Gateway Army than the Quas are to some degree, but that's a lot of them. That's 12. So just keep that in mind, by the way. A very committed one-base play from now both players. Kenoli kind of has to. He's going to go ahead and drop a pylon down here in the main base, so Sosij looking to expand his buildings and on one base. We know he's not going to be going for a Nexus based on that pylon play. At least that's not the current plan. Frontliners are going to frontline, but they're not on hold position. They do a nice clean automatic engage there, though. Some wisdom to how it was spaced out, perhaps. And when we think about the way that the... yeah, I was going to say, the way that the composition's looking, this does seem like Zealot Ecclesiast would be a good way to make this happen. Got a couple of extra Quas coming, as well as what seems to be another Larvosk in the plans. And a Cantor drop would be pretty devastating, because you do splash damage to this stuff. Probably not going to be in the cards for anytime soon. The 4th gate and the Nexus starting at the same time as a military move out here for Sosij. Well, this is a pretty threatening attack, but once again, that burrow trap, it can be so damn deadly. He's going to engage initially, and honestly, when you see a few burrowed units, your heart has to sink for a moment. At the very least, Sosij doesn't seem to have suffered too severe losses, as he is now transferring his resources into pure Zealot Ecclesiast. Pylon by his natural. But Kenoli hasn't taken his own expansion yet, so Sosij should feel somewhat confident in the macro game. I wouldn't hate a quick scout across the rest of the map's expansions just to make sure that nothing too cheeky has happened, but at this point, if you're just going to suss out that your opponent doesn't have that much money, that's fine too. As a reminder, the winner of this match, no holds barred, must occur. The winner of this match will qualify into the Tribunal stage. So Sosij was able to bring things back into winning ways. They were some tight games. They weren't all what we expected necessarily. Especially with the way that this series started, I'll tell you that much. But we've seen some things. The Hydrith Den, now on the way for Kenoli. His Vornath, now complete, so Vorvs will be available. Yeah, Zeth Vorv with some quasi backup for the extra damage can be really deadly versus these sorts of Zealot Ecclesiast compositions. It's not really that they can't fight it, it's just that there gets to be an inflection point where if the Zerg has enough stuff, then the Protoss is going to be in, well, they say that the saying is up shit creek without a paddle. And that's kind of what this is looking like now for Sosij, because this amount of Zerg already out of the containment of that natural choke point is really hard for his army to deal with. He does not have what he needs versus the Zeth Vorf. The Quasi are going to tear through all of his Ecclesiasts. Oh my god, everything going down there. He actually needed to sack an Ecclesiast almost immediately for the speed boost and get the rest of the army out of dodge, but instead he tried to stand and fight, as all brave Protoss seem to do. Not exactly what we needed, though, my friend. He's going to see if he can make a pseudo-wall out of gateways, emergency use style. And that's a smart move. You know, this is like the kind of counter that you can get to this. Kenoli investing the APM necessary to move forward and try to basically body block some of these Ecclesiasts. Only ends up claiming one. Double Matrix is going to be very good versus this composition. It's all down to whether Sosij can hold. He pulls his workers down to the ridge, but that's not where the ground army is actually connecting. If that Warden falls, and it will, it's going to be really hard for the Matrixes to keep up. They're actually ensnared by Vorfer cores. That means that they're going to be shooting a lot slower, and those gateways, they might finish, but I don't think they're going to make any units. Has Kenoli made enough quads to actually push through this? I think the answer is yes. We only have one Zealot left, and the Zets have contributed to its demise wonderfully. All of the Vorvs are gone. The front line is gone for our Zerg player. But we only have a small handful of Zealots and a small handful of Ecclesiasts in production right now for Sosij. Only a few of those Zerg units actually getting through, and indeed Kenoli will have to abate his attack initially. Does depower both of those gateways. That's actually kind of big. Ecclesiasts trying to do what they can to fight back. Only one Zealot currently standing. He's got two more in the back. He needs to get into the fight immediately, or Sosij will be suffering a bit too much. He lost a lot of workers. Kenoli's got a nice worker lead, but if he ends up losing all of these quads, we could actually see a counterattack with some sort of power. Instead, he pops one of the gateways, and he's going to have to be happy with that. Yeah, he's secured a pretty significant worker lead. Look at that, 2 rotations of workers, in fact, and not a third base. That's a Zeth, so not a Droleth waiting to expand. You could probably tell by the vision range there. Bulwark and 3 Matrixes on the way. Sosij knows he needs to build back into this game, but I feel like he's kind of out of options for an early victory. If this game extends another 12 minutes or so, by the way, we could see a pretty sizable difference in the outcome, but we've got Skithra cores coming in. That's the problem. It's very similar to Magnetron, isn't it? The number of things Kenoli can do now. He's got 9 Skiths on the way. He has the freedom to build up. I don't know what this looks like, a weird UMS spawn zone. I don't know what Kenoli's doing. He's hacked the map, dude. He's going into the triggers. Yeah, Kenoli has the room to do whatever he wants at this point, basically, and that's kind of the big problem. You know, he's gonna have what, 17 Skiths. It's not a pretty picture, or something to that effect, anyway. No, I guess it was not quite 17. It's gonna be 13, and that's okay. That's still a good number. In fact, the 13th is my birthday in October, and then the 17th is the birthday of someone very important to me. So that's a pretty good deal. Just keep that in mind. Those are good numbers. We have 8 more Skiths on the way, though, so it will not jump from 13 to 17. RIP. Multiple gateways. This is it. It's only gateway tech for Sosij. He is kind of just hanging out. But, oh, did the Skiths get caught? No, they're hiding in the corner. He sees the ski backs, but he's probably going to assume Bactals, right? I think that's what you would assume before you assume anything else. The Zealot just oh, he hung around long enough that he saw them, though. That's really big information. Immediately throws down an engram, but these do take a while to actually make. The Ecclesias are going to need to shuffle up to that main base, I think. You really don't want the Skiths picking off your Crucible, picking off your Pylon. You need some other way of defending yourself, and you need whatever the Ecclesiasts can provide. But it seems like with Izira cores in production, Kenoli isn't going to stay on them for too long, at least not yet. And Sosij seems somewhat confident that this engram will finish in time. I'm not so sure that's the case. And I do think that the engram will be anointed by the Crucible. But yeah, the skids are kind of come in, and it's only 75% done. Oh, it might not even finish. He's going to go after the workers initially. The worker count just now recovered to about 36 before all of this. And yeah, all the scribes, oh, they're all clumped up. They can't get out. This is another reason to get the Ecclesiasts up there. Down by 20. Oh, no, it's way worse than that. I was going to say he's going to be down about 20 workers, but no, it's 21. That's way worse. And oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's amazing. Sosij concedes, and that is how we get where we got. Kenoli, welcome to Battlements off the back of Zerg BS. Except, you know, obviously as the designer of the game, everything is perfectly balanced and it's all 100% homegrown, organic, free-range epic. But yeah, that was a really good way to end things. I will just throw this out there. There's a possibility that I have been casting these in the wrong order, but I admit nothing, and I say it still ended up in a 3-2 in favor of Kenoli. And so actually, no, that was the real way. Sosij did, in this reality, for real, leave the game with no GG in the final game 5. That's exactly what happened. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you think about how this match went, definitely check out more coming to you, very, very soon. We're going to be starting coverage on the Gauntlet Stage A qualifier matches. We've got 5 of them to get through, and then we'll have 5 across Gauntlet Stage B. So stay tuned for more bracket breakdowns and exciting predictions and epic content coming to you very soon.